So what's going on in the wheat market, Ben?
Well, Dr. Bill Tierney, thank you for asking. It seems that the USDA has already printed record low exporter stocks to use.
Yeah.
So over any given 12-month period, I think you and I have determined that drives the price of wheat in the world. So what I want to ask you is, that's driven the market to where it is today. Is there any hope of solving this? Do you think prices will curtail global demand and trade over the next 6, 8, or 12 months?
Obviously, economic theory says that whenever you raise the price of a good, people consume less. But we also have to understand there are other variables that impact demand. For one, population. The second one, I think, is extremely important, is the fact that the global economy is projected by the IMF to grow by a record amount in this coming 1 and 2 year period. It's all the post-pandemic response. And if you get that kind of income growth, that's going to allow people to pay more for their basic products than they did before. So I think that overall we need to expect that wheat imports and wheat consumption is going to go up this year, not down, and it may go up more than we had anticipated.
And it seems as though every year for the past several decades, USDA underestimates trade and consumption as of its August report. So that is where we are in the markets now. And so if demand doesn't change, but we start to lower exports from Russia and Europe, do you think that the importer community has to come to the U.S. for supply at some point in this marketing year?
I think we will be the primary beneficiary. Australia could be a beneficiary because their weather there is exceptionally good. We may match last year's record crop, but Australia is constrained by logistical capacity. So it may well be that the United States is the primary beneficiary because we do have excess wheat stocks, excess in the sense that it's sitting around, and we certainly have a variety of ports that are capable of exporting. Now, what that does bring up is we are anticipating a very robust soybean and corn export program as well. But wheat exports tend to be spread out over a longer time period. So I think the U.S. could very well be the beneficiary of the very tight global supply-demand situation that we see today.
And that's important because that just accelerates the stocks contraction that we've seen in the U.S. So I think what's important about wheat in the context of these other markets is we've had big wheat stocks in the U.S. and the world for a long time up till about last year, but now wheat joins every other commodity almost in needing acres and having zero tolerance for yield loss in the next couple of months.
We also need to tune in our listeners to understand that when we talk wheat, we're talking about basically 3 or 4 distinct products. I'll give you the most extreme example, durum wheat. Durum wheat is basically good for doing only one thing, and that's producing high-quality pasta. You cannot produce high-quality pasta with anything else other than durum wheat. The second thing is you have wheats of various protein levels. If you want a roll or a hard wheat, then you have to have a high-protein wheat. Typically, you can get that from higher-protein winter wheat or from spring wheat. So we may very well see very wide price differences between durum wheat, high protein hard red spring, high protein hard red winter wheat versus the soft wheats. So while we're talking wheat in general terms, we do have 3 different exchanges, and we definitely have wide differences based on other quality characteristics and classes. So wheat is not just one story, it's actually 3 or 4 different stories.
And it's kind of exacerbated because demand is more or less inelastic.
I believe that in the case of wheat, for the huge number of consumers in the world today, they will pay any price for the wheat that they want to consume.
So it sounds like the wheat market's very exciting, and we want to thank you for joining into this edition of Ag Resource video content. I'm Ben Buckner. This is Dr. Bill Tierney, and we'll see you next time.